is TWiP. All right, folks, it is time for the TWiP Pro Photo Critique. TWiP Pro Photo Critique. This critique topic is fashion, and we're going to dive in. Before I share my screen, Troy, do you have any setup comments or words of wisdom you'd like to share with either people that are in the room or people that are watching this later in time?
Wear your mask, get vaccinated, and then go take some photos.
Nice. In that order? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah, in that order.
Wear your mask to where they vaccinate and then take photos of you getting vaccinated and share it here, please. Yeah.
Yes, all of those things. Yes.
Take a macro shot of the needle going into your arm.
Yes. Do it all.
Uh-huh. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the community. First one up is from Craig Colvin. Is Craig? Yeah, Craig's in here. Craig's in the chat. All right, let's take a look. He says, my entry for fashion. All right, see, here we go. This is classic fashion, right? Because, yeah, it's a beautiful woman with striking hair and all that, and the background is muted. But if we were selling this blouse and vest combination, I could see this in a catalog, right? Could you?
Yeah, definitely. I really like the lighting on this. I know that, Craig does an amazing job with his lighting and everything. So I really love that. And, the pose is wonderful too. And it really sort of, that short lighting that we're getting on her face. The fact that we've darkened the bottom half of the image to bring our attention to the upper portion, right? To see her face, that red hair, nice contrast. I just wonder, what's the writing on the wall? Like, is this danger? But why?
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from the shot, but
would you have removed that?
I don't think so. I like it there. It makes me wonder why it's written there. Was it something that was written there for the shot, or was it something that you just happened to find there and shoot? I always think about those as a photographer. I like that, but I think it's from the sense of from an image. No, it's fine. It's great, especially from a commercial point of view. I think that it's great. My only nitpick on this image would be, I think the blouse below her neck is a little bit hot, and that little triangle just below the vest, I would have maybe burned that down just a little bit.
Like right in here, like here.
Yeah,
like here.
Yeah, that's just a little bit hot. Like the sleeves on the outside are really nice, but that part of the blouse is just a little bit hot. Even though, it is fashion, it is taking away from her face a little bit. And I think that's where, your eyes are going to fall first.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like the our eyes go directly to the brightest parts. Like, and in this case, it's that blouse, right? It's supposed to be the blouse, right, and then her face, then her hair. So we're talking to the topic here. And I like the background. Initially, I was thinking, well, we got that split background with that door with danger on it and then the concrete on the other side. Does that line going through there bother me? But I don't think so. I don't think it doesn't really bother me that there's a line coming out of kind of the back of her head or her shoulder there.
No, if it had been coming out of like splitting her 50-50, I think that would have been a little bit more disconcerting. I do want to point out that I love the fact that this is a sort of a proper short lit, Rembrandt style lighting, and that like the subject's right eye isn't buried in the corner of her nose, right? If she had turned her head slightly more to the right, it would have been uncomfortable because her right eye, camera left, would have been buried behind her nose. So this is right at that sort of optimal portrait twist of her head. We're not talking a lot about the clothes and the fashion part of it, but that's where the model tends to carry the image, right? Because it's great for us to look at.
When you say short lighting, describe what you mean by short lighting.
So right now, if you look at it, the broad side of her face is facing us. That's camera right, her left. The light is hitting her on the right side. So there's a thin strip of light on her right. That's short light. If the light had been camera right to her left, lighting the broad side of her face, that would be considered broad light. So And then within that lighting, you have, you know, Rembrandt or butterfly lighting or things like that that are just styles within that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a good use. It's a really good use of light in that spot. So,
all right, Craig Colvin, thank you, sir. See if we can get out of here. Here we go. Next up is from Joshua Sommerfeldt. He says, this is one of the rare occasions I actually designed and created clothing for one of my characters myself. This bit of fashion is inspired by that time I got tangled in some muddy cars. All right, let's take a look. And we were talking a bit about this offline, about this shot and the virtues of 3D illustration in a fashion context like this. And I think we're probably seeing more and more of this in the real world, or maybe we're not, right? Maybe we're seeing it, but we don't know it's there because like this shot,
right.
like you were saying offline, you would have no idea that this wasn't a real person, if not for a couple of clues, but you wouldn't know. So
right.
is this the harbinger of the end of traditional, quote, fashion photography when you can just send a 3D model of the garment over to someone and say, yeah, make it like this? I don't know. What do you think?
I think you would be surprised how much 3D rendered art you see, whether it's jewelry or, you know, products or even people. It's hard to tell. I mean, if it wasn't for the eyes, the multi-lensed eyes, and kind of maybe just the shape of the face, I wouldn't know that this was rendered. I wouldn't guess that it was rendered. Knowing it came from Joshua, I'm pretty sure that it's rendered. If this had more of a normal facial feature, I wouldn't have known at all. So I actually really love this. I think that this is very fashionable, and I think this is something that would easily hang in a Victoria's Secret or go in a magazine ad, because if you're selling this outfit, right, this idea that it's good enough for, you know, the sexy queen of whatever, then it's good for you. The lighting placement is wonderful. The reflections off of the material are wonderful. It's all very intentional, and I think that it's very well done. Whether it's a portrait or it's rendered, same thing.
Yeah. But I'm gonna put we were saying, if this person had like a veil on or something, you know, or something that obscured the face, or those telltale signs, like you said, the multi lensed eyes or whatever, then we probably wouldn't know. We probably would not know, especially in black and white like this. In a fashion sense, though, in a 2021 fashion sense, we're seeing more. What's the best way to put it? Body positive models. So in that light, this model is too attractive, Joshua. She's too perfect. You gotta you gotta make her a little bit imperfect in certain ways there in order to fit in and be, else you're gonna get doxxed.
No, there's a freckle right on. There's a couple freckles on her neck, on her chest, on her belly. There's a freckle, or it could be a mole. It could be a mole. That is not perfect. So, and
nice to see a flaw, Captain America.
I'm pretty sure the left is slightly lower than the right. You know, so
no, that's not exactly where I was going with it, but we'll leave it right there.
I just look. I love this image. One, because it fits the topic. I think it fits the topic really well. But two, this is probably one of the closest images that I've seen from Joshua that I can recall that would be nearly impossible to tell that it's not a person, right? If you hold your hand up and you block her head, there's nothing that's going to make you think that was rendered. There's just nothing. And I think that's amazing.
If I block her head, my eye goes to the brightest part of this image.
Maybe that's the intent. It is to sell the sexiness of the product, right?
It totally is.
It goes right to her chest, which, granted, if this is a sexy outfit that you want to sell, that's probably where you want the eyes to fall.
Yeah, for sure. Joshua, by the way, where can I buy this? This would make a good Valentine's Day. A little
And you
whip
need
or something.
the lighting diagram to go with it so that you can create your own photo shoot with your own.
There you go. There you go. There's your $1 million business idea, Joshua. Create these things, these shots, and then sell the recipe and all the little things that go with it. Yeah, please. Yeah, he says he's gonna make one my size. Yeah, please do. I'm gonna need a little bit more material in certain areas, but yeah.
Yeah. One quick nitpick on this that just is not natural, and that is on her right, camera left, just behind her breast, the strap follows her body.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I think that in real life, there would be that strap would continue, and there would be a gap between the strap and her body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's
unless
right.
somebody
just taped it
glued
down.
it down.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's true.
That's just, you can decide whether, you're the fashion designer, you decide whether you want the strap to stick or not.
Yeah, he made it so you could say, well, it's supposed to, I designed it like that. This is actually body form fitting leather that's on her.
I've done some fashion shoots for some clothing, and I will tell you that behind the model there are clips and tape, and it's
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, Joshua. Very nice. All right, up next is Armando, and I just saw Armando came in the room. He snuck in the back.
Yeah.
Armando says this was in the SteamCon event. The mask is very appropriate for the danger of the virus. Unfortunately, especially in Brazil. Yeah, pretty soon that's gonna be fashion, right? That's like the new 2022 fashion statement is the gas mask.
God, don't even tease that stuff.
Yeah.
These are always fun. I mean, I love the steampunk look, and I love that post-apocalyptic look. I look at this and I think like that has got to be really uncomfortable in that mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be sweating bullets.
Right. That's got to be good. I love the black and white in this. I do wish in the image that there was a little bit more interactive between the two. Like he was being pulled into her just a little bit with like a little tension. But overall, you can see all of the fashion bits. They're all lit really well. I like everything from the rings on her left hand to his glasses. Her goggles are well represented from a fashion sense. This is pretty cool. It shows off a lot of bits.
Yeah. No, very cool. Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I like that. I like the depth of field. I like the fact that the background is just slightly soft and they're popping out of there. I was curious what you were going to say about the black and white processing. Were they popping out of the background enough, or were they getting lost in there? It sounds like you're good with the level of detail, right?
I like it. I think that the background is still competing. I think if you could push the background down even more, it would get better. They would stand off more because they are so dark. But just some little things, like just clean up whatever the stuff is on his right shoulder, camera left of him, little things like that. Just very easy to retouch.
Yeah.
And I don't,
these little bits here.
And I don't think we need as much vertical space in this image as we have. We just don't need that.
So what would you cut it about, right? Say there?
Yeah.
Not like that? Yeah.
Just think about it. Just think about like if you had to pay for every pixel that you showed us, you would be very particular about negative space.
Yeah. Maybe something like that.
I love her.
Or would you lose the hand? You like the other hand in there?
I like her hand. I like that very nonchalant, sort of pose where she's kind of like throwing that hand back. But you could get away with cutting it out. But
yeah, it changes the story a little bit.
Which I think it works either way. I do tend to like things that are a little bit tighter because your mind doesn't wander as much in the frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what you said about, the if every pixel had a price on it, would you include it? Nicole and I were talking about that. We were watching movies, and last night, Coming to America, we were watching, and I was saying that we were just talking about cinematography in general and how every single element in every frame is there for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
this thing, this handkerchief on the table, this thing, the set, the color of the walls, where they're every single thing in every frame of the shots is considered, and somebody thought about it. So
Yeah.
and
Well,
her context was she doesn't see any of that stuff. She barely, she's like multitasking on her phone, trying to watch what happened, watching the movie, that kind of thing. And I'm sitting there like looking at, wow, how did they do that camera move? It started way back there. How did they get the camera into the room? All that stuff. So,
but all that stuff matters, even if you don't realize it matters. I mean, take WandaVision, for example. Every single episode was stylized to fit a certain thematic period in like sitcom history, right? And if they didn't get the outfits right and the color palette right, and it wouldn't have worked. So
yeah.
all that stuff matters. All the
Yeah.
negative space, the color behind this subject matters. In Harry Potter, in the movies in Harry Potter, Harry is always wearing, God, I can't remember now, I'm gonna get it wrong, but like Harry, Hermione, and Ron, they wear different colors. Like Ron and Hermione are always wearing, I think it's like smoother colors, and then Harry wears like a plaid color, or it's inverted. Like, it's on purpose, right? So your eye always goes to the subject you want to see. So
yeah. No, absolutely. And those little subliminal things in the shots, like you mentioned WandaVision, the fact that most of the time she was wearing shades of red, right? And her magic is red, and she's the Scarlet Witch, and her hair is red. It was always that kind of, those little subtle hints. So they're subtle or not so subtle, depending on your level of fandom, but it was, you look at it and you kind of understand. If you watch it again, you start understanding what they were trying to do. That the WandaVision series, to me, David Schulman's in here too, he's watching it. The WandaVision series is very much a watch more than once kind of series, because you watch it all the way through once, like many movies are. You watch it through all the way once, and they're taking you on this week to week ride. And then you go rewatch it and binge it, and it's almost a different story when you know what's happening and you know where it's going. You watch it from the beginning. So yeah, interesting. I love that stuff. I love the consideration of every pixel in a shot, because a lot of people don't do that, right? A lot of it's just spray and pray and crop later and see if you can't harvest something good out of these pixels that you captured, versus the intent, like Steve Richard says, like the intent of every little piece in the shot matters, and I'm going to make sure it's right before I click the shutter button. So,
yep.
All right. And Joshua says, I was just curious as to why they actually call her Scarlet Witch. Oh yeah. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. And he also, Joshua also said, my funeral will be spectacular. Let's have it now while I'm alive. That was James Earl Jones in Coming to America made that statement. And then he died during his funeral. So, sorry, spoiler. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Thank you, Armando. Next up is Ernest. Ernest says, fashion, lady in a box, and a few triangles for good measure. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, see, I was digging the cropping on this one. He's like, this is that intentional using the crop and the borders that you love so much as part of the composition. Really cool.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's great because it shows a stronger use of the edge of the frame, right? But I would say that no matter how far out you push that, the edge of the frame still matters. But I love what he's done here. I wish the lighting was a little bit less flat. I tend to think that, in a case like this, there's a little bit more modeling that could be done with the lighting to sort of bring our focus to a particular area of the image. So let's say, for example, you're selling the blouse, right? Or maybe just the outfit in general. Well, the top left corner of the background is quite distracting. The bright white is pulling me out. The foreground that she's sitting on is like a tan color. Should it be tan all the way through? I love the pose. I love all of that. The expression and stuff is fantastic. I wish the lighting was a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah. And if you look at it through the fashion lens, we're looking at the outfit, right? So as a clothing designer or manufacturer or retailer, looking at the shot and making the calculus of, should I include this in my catalog or not? Does this make women like her want to buy these leggings and this blouse and those shoes? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great shot. I mean, it's certainly a wonderful shot of the model. And I really like that. I am struggling a little bit with the pose, and the model's right shoulder, she's fully leaning all her weight into that shoulder. And what happens is it pushes her shoulder forward, right? And so really what she has to do is lean back enough just to touch her arm to the ground, but not let her full weight lean into that shoulder, because that shoulder should be pushed back a bit more. So it feels unnatural because she's fully placing her weight into that shoulder.
Yeah.
That's just stuff that I see as far as like from a posing standpoint. But
cool.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Wonderful shot though. Good colors.
Yep. And I love the tension, like right around how close he's got the bits to the edge of the frame.
Yeah.
I love that. Because it really looks like she's trapped in a veal box or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Thank you, Ernest. All right. Next up is Eric Pronsky. He says, Christine, my daughter asked me to take her picture in front of this door while we were walking around San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. Let's take a look.
Oh, nice.
Look at that door. That's so cool.
Here you have this beautiful woman sitting in front of the door, and you go, look at the door.
I know. The door is much older than she is too.
The door is amazing. The subject is really fun too. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, she definitely looks like a model sitting there. So put on your fashion portraiture hat or beanie, Troy Miller, and looking at this shot. If you were sitting there and you had a fantastic model like this, and you had this door and this situation, what would you do differently, like posing wise, or other, or even processing wise? Would you do anything different?
Yeah. Posing, I would adjust the posing a little bit. It feels a little tense. Like her left foot, her toe should be up and a little, so that it's resting a little bit more. Like right now it's pointed down. Her left foot, I think that feels, there's a lot of tension in that. That doesn't feel like a natural thing. Like I would tilt her foot up a little bit, but moreover, her hands, I would do something with her hands. Like I would have her, sitting there playing with a ring, maybe looking over her right shoulder, almost as if like she doesn't care anybody's there. The right hand just holding on to the bag, her left hand just kind of laying there doesn't feel natural.
Yeah. I was gonna say that too. Yeah, this hand looks. It doesn't like even if it was just a little looser or positioned differently. And this hand looks like if I let go of this, somebody's gonna grab my purse, so I gotta hold it tight. So these are, loosen up a little bit. And I like what you said about maybe having her look off to her right a little bit, like off camera or something. Would have been cool. My only thing was I feel like she's a little bit close to this edge of the frame, and there's a lot of space over on this side. I get she's pointing into the frame, so I like the space over here, but I feel like she needs a little bit more space on this side because there's a lot of, it feels like she's about to fall off the edge of the cliff a little bit over here. But
yeah,
I don't know.
She doesn't need space to move into. You could center this, perfectly centered. It would be totally fine. I would just suggest that when you get a subject in a position like this, you think about how to make them feel more natural, right? So like their hand just laying on the bag, their left hand a little bit more like out on their knee, like they're adjusting their shirt or fixing her hair or, adjusting her sunglasses, things like that. And if you can't think of ways to pose it, just ask your subject to do things like, oh, hey, fix your necklace. Your necklace is a little crooked. She'll reach up and she'll, like, ooh, and that looks great. Oh, there's a little bit of hair in front of your right eye. Can you pull that back? Whether there is or not, she's going to move her hands in a way that you have to watch. And then it becomes very natural. And then your subject doesn't know you're posing them. They just think that they're fixing things like, oh, hey, could you turn your body to me just a little bit? And then to even out your shirt over the top of your blouse, just kind of even that out for me while you're doing that. And she'll look down and she'll turn her head and you're watching and you'll see it happen. Like you'll see it. You'll be like, oh, that was good. And then you could tell them like, oh, just fix your hair one more time for me. Just there's your shot.
That's cool. What about fashion? Do you think this fits into the fashion category? Like when you look at it then through the fashion lens, it's the shirt, it's the tank, it's the shoes and the jeans. Are we selling those?
I think the color harmony in this is really wonderful. I think Steven said that in the chat. To me, this is really about the accessories and the shoes. It's about the glasses, it's about the bag, it's about the G-Shock, maybe necklace, some of the jewelry and the shoes.
Yeah,
it definitely works to be very fashiony. There's a couple things that you might do differently, where the bag, you might want to sit that down at her feet and she might be sitting there like looking at her watch or something to really just show them in action. But we could take all day reposing, right?
Yeah, this is a whole fashion shoot right here. Like I'm thinking like it would have been cool to see her just kind of sitting on that ledge there facing the camera, with her kind of nonchalantly with her arms on her elbows, or her elbows on her knees, kind of leaning forward, looking off to one side of the camera with the cool glasses on or something. Yeah. So yeah, there's a ton you can do. Yeah. This is cool.
There's so many things you can do. The biggest thing to do when posing people is watch people. Watch what they do. There's things that people do inherently with their hands, their feet, their hips, their knees, their body placement. And those are the things that you want to try to encourage your models to do.
Yeah. Very cool. Interesting. All right, Eric, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And tell your daughter, thank you for allowing us to nitpick on the photo.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Stephen Sharf. He says the latest in kids motorcycle racing fashions. That's fun. That's cool.
That is fun. Yeah. I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. Just kind of looking at the negative space we have to the left, camera left, right of the subject. Yeah, underneath the umbrella.
Yeah,
umbrellas are hard. Umbrellas are so hard to work with
because they make all this negative space, right? And then now
so much,
and then you're left with this the imbalance and like what's supposed to be over here. And you have your subject. Would it have been okay to say crop this shot? Because do we really need to see all the umbrella, right? So would it have been okay to crop it like this?
Yeah, I think I need to see all the umbrella. I think that, if we're going to go for a fashion shot, maybe something commercial, we're just going to put text over there, right? So that's a good place to put some vertical text.
Yeah. Or the caption. The caption goes right here, right, to weigh it down.
Yeah, exactly. The color harmony is kind of tripping up my brain. I mean, I realize that, I feel that this is more of like a writer's promo shoot than it would be like a fashion shoot. Because, the bike itself tends to pop out quite a bit, but.
Yeah. So if this, like Steven said in his caption, if this is, we're looking at the latest in, like, again, going back into fashion mode, right? So we're looking at the latest in kids motorcycle fashion. So then the shot should be about this guy and what he's wearing right here. So are we selling that here? So if you saw this, if you as a parent and you got a kid like this and you saw this in a catalog, would this make you more likely to buy this riding outfit?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure the relationship with, you know, the subject in the back with the umbrella.
Hmm.
They don't
What's the
communicate
story,
this the
right?
same
What's
message.
what's happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you look at it like that, like when we go back to our, what's the story of this image? What are you trying to tell us? Like Steven's saying in the chat, it's his sister and Umbrella Girl. So it's more of a family shot. So if you look at it as a family shot, and you know that other family members are going to be looking at this and this is who the shot is for, then yeah, of course. But from a fashion standpoint, then it gets confusing because are we selling this tie? Are we selling her
Yeah.
blouse and pants or the motorcycles, or the umbrella, and how do they work together? What is the story and why do they, sunglasses and it's raining? Like what's happening? So,
Well, she holds the umbrella for him at the starting line, I'm assuming, to, to keep him in the shade so he doesn't overheat.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Stephen Sharf, thank you. Thank you all.
There we go.
I love these
Why he's
shots.
acting slow.
This
There.
latitude that people have. It's just it's really cool to see that. Like you see a Stephen Sharf in these meticulous sort of real estate shots and motorsport shots, and then something like this. So it's really cool to see the
Yeah, it's
latitude
fun.
that people have. Mark Harris is up next. He says fashion test for Fashion Topic made several years ago with model Dakota Lee at Frog Hollow Studio in Pennsylvania. This coat is from Rent the Runway. This is cool. He posted another shot like this in the not safe for work area. She's topless in there, but it's really cool the way that he posed her in there.
Mhm.
It's kind of one of those kind of reverse sunken S's of her frame, and he's got her pushed off to the side of the frame. Really, really cool stuff. If you guys are in the not safe for work area, go check out that version of this shot in there. It's really cool. What do you
Yeah,
think of
it's
this one,
just,
Troy?
I mean, this is really great. I love the color palette, and it's very, very simple. So it's very clear, like from a fashion standpoint, that this is really about the shawl or the jacket that she's wearing. I would even say so much as to crop off, the bottom. I'm not a big fan of cropping off appendages. It's really hard to crop this one correctly, but I think that if you were to crop it just above where the bottom of the background is, and then a nice heavy vignette, do some burning to darken that background and to bring her out, and then her boots and stuff would kind of fall away, then it would just scream that jacket and sort of
Mm-hmm.
that nonchalant look that she has.
Yeah,
I think it
because
would be
we're
really cool.
losing all that white space, which is we're getting this magnetized,
Right.
right? So our eyes are getting sucked down there. If you
Right.
remove that from the equation, then we start going towards the
And
actual shawl thing.
right. And fashion is traditionally untraditional when it comes to posing crops and lighting techniques and things like that. Like they have no problem cutting off a wrist or cutting it off at the ankles, or intentionally harsh lighting, overexposing things. And
Yep.
that's to get your attention, right? Is to make you feel that it's uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
if you were to crop this off right above her knees, I think that worked. If you were to crop right above her ankles, I think that feels very uncomfortable. So that might be a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think the background is competing with her a little bit. They feel too one dimensional.
Because the color palette, because it's they're in the same color family.
Plus it's in focus. I mean, she's right on the background. She's standing pretty close to the background. So
Yeah.
It's sharp. I mean, you can tell by the edge of the background. You can tell by the background itself. You can see the folds in the wrinkles. So I would really like to see that background softened and create some depth for her, so it's not competing with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cool. Yeah, yeah. I wonder, like, what would you do here? Would you, like, if you have the shot here, right? And you have a client that says, "Yeah, Troy, I like this, but could you crop it like this? And can you change the color of that background to something that's less in the same color family as the fur thingy?" What would you do? Like, would you load this into Capture One and then select the color range of this background and shift it, or select her out and put her in a different background entirely? Like, how would you handle that?
I would have to select her out and change it entirely. You'd have to do a meticulous mask, around every, as much as you can. And then, yeah, I mean, there's a whole technique, but I would definitely extract her from the background to change the background.
And put her somewhere else.
For sure. Yeah. And that's one of the things, like when you ever do fashion shoots or you have an opportunity, you either have to have a clear understanding from your client what they want the background to be, and that's where having an art designer there or an art director to help you, or you light them in a way that you can extract them, which is a lot of what Renee does, and then you can put in whatever background that you want later. You've got to decide ahead of time, because this is not gonna be fun to extract. Like, it's gonna be a pain.
But it would be more fun in 2021 than it would have been in
1950,
2008. I'm just saying the selection tools have come a long way from back then.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, to give you a little hint,
you're not like making channels. Like, I need to make a channel, and then maybe I'm gonna manipulate that channel to pull her out of there. These days you can just select her and then refine the mask and pop her out of there.
Yeah. And she's not in focus. She's not sharp in this image. The whole image doesn't seem sharp. It actually feels like the background is actually sharper than she is. So the edge of the jacket and stuff, you're going to have a very hard time masking that. So you're not actually going to mask it. You're going to get close, and then you're going to fake the fur.
Right.
Yeah. It's a whole.
Yeah. That shot that he put in the not safe for work area. Yeah. I saw that. And in fact, I saw that shot first, and then I saw this one and noted that this one is softer than the other one. So yeah, so take a look at that one. All right, Mark Harris, thank you, sir.
Good job, Mark.
All right, next up is Nora. Nora says, my internet is not fast today.
I know, it's mighty. It's doing it to me too.
It's crazy. They went down this weekend, I think, a little bit. Yeah. She says, by the prayer wheels, I grabbed a picture at one of the fashion shoots in the old area of Lhasa, Tibet. The beading and braiding of the hair is traditional Tibetan, but the dress appeared to be more Chinese style. Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah. See, this has a great color combination where the that blue or purple or of the blouse of the outfit is really standing off.
Do not tell Stephen Sharf that, because Stephen, you hate the gold and the blue or the teal and the orange color trope, right?
Yeah. So I really love that in this shot. It's hard to get into this image because so much of the background is in focus and it is dominating the image, really. And so for me, again, I think this requires some work on the background to make it go away a little bit so that I can see the outfit better. I can see the head decoration better. Because right now everything gets the same amount of attention.
Yeah. Well, so let's see, where's the tool? Okay. So cropping wise, we don't want to lose any of her appendages or anything. So we would probably do a crop more like this to tighten in on her, or like this, like about right there.
Yeah. Because we don't need that trap in the upper right-hand corner, and we don't need that extra space up there. There's just too much stuff going on up at the top. I do like, her body and stuff in there. I see, this is one of those shots, and I don't mean to make assumptions that I shouldn't, but I feel like this is somebody photographing a shot somebody else set up. Because
she's not looking at the camera, or?
Well, yeah, it looks like she's doing something else. And if you're really going to show off her outfit, you would at least have her body turned to the camera a little bit better, even though her head may be looking off, but her whole body and her whole attention is somewhere else. Yeah. So having a hard time getting into the photo because of that. But there's a lot you can do. Just getting rid of that background would.
So how do you fight that? Because I know as a wedding photographer, you hit this all the time where you're trying to set up your shot and you got Uncle Bob over your shoulder and your subject decides to look at Uncle Bob instead of you, and you got to get them to look at your camera. Well, how do you tactfully get your subject to look at you or get Uncle Bob to stand down?
I haven't had that issue in a really, really long time. One, my image is going to look way better than Uncle Bob's because I'm shooting with an 85-1.4 and he's not, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just no way. And second, my clients are paying me a lot of money, and they want my photos. They may glance at Uncle Bob, but they're going to look at me and they're going to pay attention to me, and that's totally fine. Yeah.
So suggestions from the community. Joshua says, carry bricks to throw in the camera bag. And David says, we stand in the way to block.
Yeah, he does. That's not untrue. That's not untrue. If we do,
you like see Uncle Bob off to the left. You're like, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Look at this camera.
It's a little bit of a guerrilla warfare, but if we have a highly offensive individual, I will insert. Yeah, David's gone with me. I'll be like, David, just be in that guy's way,
Good.
And
Good.
it isn't rude or obnoxious, but he moves enough that it forces Uncle Bob to move a little bit.
Yeah. And especially you're the paid photographers there. So you have carte blanche to move wherever you want. And especially if you're not looking, you could just say, oh, well, I didn't see you back there, Uncle Bob. Sorry.
I used to get way more offended by that. And honestly, now in the last probably 10, 15 years, I really don't care. I really don't. Your images are not going to come close to my work. So I'm fine with it. Yeah. Whatever.
I do remember a story you told once about a videographer that was
oh yeah.
That's a different story. Those video guys, that's different, right?
That was rough. Yeah, there's been a couple of those.
Yep. All right, moving on. And Nora says it wasn't my fashion shoot, so the angle wasn't her choice. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Nora. Nice image.
Very cool. All right. And Craig Stampley's up next. Craig says, girl in a flowing dress. All right.
Nice.
That pool gets a lot of use, man. I want that pool. That's his unfair advantage. The old private ocean.
I really love this shot, and I think that it works. I think it works really well in the fashion category. I know I talk a lot about cropping, and it's always on my mind. Like, I don't think we need all that negative space to know that she's underwater. Like, we don't need that. And I also would love to see the color on the background the same from the foreground, which I'm wondering, it's the color, the cyan color is washed out there, whether he's added light or maybe just the direction of light. But saturate the dress, a little bit more contrast and punch to the dress and the skin tone, and take the background, that cyan color of the pool, take it out, and then bring it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to compare one image to another, but the one that Craig Colvin showed of the woman falling, the background was very absent, right? But we got that sense that she was still underwater. So in this case, the background, the colors, the highlight reflections on the floor, and they're distracting us from our subject, which it's either the dress or the model.
Yeah, it's interesting. These kind of shots I've never done a shot like this, so liberally apply grains of salt. But when I look at this, I think is the intent of the artist to let us, is it the intent that she's underwater, or is the water there to make the undulations of the dress and the hair such that you could not get them above ground? right? So is the water
Right.
there to help you get the shot and the flowing, kind of like the, you know, like in 300, the that mystic person that they shot underwater, like is it
Yeah.
to get that look? And we never saw any water in that shot, right? That
Right.
person is just sort of undulating in post. We know that they did it underwater to get the flows and all that stuff and removed bubbles and everything. So it wasn't about the water, it was about the shot. So in this case, the pool is a co-star in this movie, right? So
Right.
the water is clearly a co-star, and in this, it doesn't matter, right? So that's totally
Mm-mm.
fine. It's not a bad thing, but I think, you know, when you're looking at it, especially with through a fashion kind of perspective, does it add to the dress? Like if we're looking at this as a buyer, or as an agency, or someone that wants this shot to put in a catalog, would they buy this, or would they say, why is she underwater, you know? Or
Uh, I think that's a great observation. I don't think that the viewer really cares whether they're underwater or not. I just think that they're going to appreciate that, one, it's not a traditional standing by a tree or walking down the
Mhm.
sidewalk kind of pose, right?
Yeah.
Being underwater creates this unique look. And if I'm the maker of this dress, I want to show that this dress can flow and it can move, and I want you to see the colors in the palette. I either got to do that with wind, or I got to, underwater. It's great for that. That's fantastic.
Hmm.
Um,
Or
I
3D.
am, yeah. And in these images, though, in these underwater images, I get really, really distracted by the light patterns that come through the water.
Hmm. Hmm.
The way that they fall on her body, and then the way they fall in the background. And I know that that's a huge pain in the butt to get rid of, but I would just, look at those and try to figure out like how to reduce that, at least on your subject.
I'm curious, like from a Craig Colvin or a Craig Stampley, is it hard to get rid of those sort of undulating water patterns in there? Like, could you throw a gobo above the pool to reduce or eliminate the light that's refracting, and do your light source inside the water? Would that sell the illusion more if you were lighting in the water versus above the water?
Well, yeah, lighting in the water is nice, but what you're seeing there is you're seeing the magnification of the highlights of the sun on the
Hmm.
water. It's focusing the light, right? Kind of like you see with a magnifying glass.
Craig says
That's
it's a
like
big softbox. He says he uses a scrim over the whole
scrim.
pool,
Yep.
and it's a big softbox. Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's not hard, but it's a big step. But if you were to put a giant white scrim, to block the light source, it would soften that light, especially on your subject. And
Hmm.
then you can work with the background.
I'm saying, could
Um,
you, like, Craig? Maybe you can chime in. I'm wondering, and maybe you can chime in when we go video. But like, if you put a black scrim over the whole pool to block the light, not just diffuse it, to block the light, so that when in the water it's black, it's dark, and then assuming there's such a thing as underwater lighting, that you could
there's
get your lighting done underwater, could you light underwater and sell the illusion that this person isn't underwater? Would that work? I've never done this. I'm seriously curious if that's possible and what it would look like. He says
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's Peter actually has a set of lights. I don't remember what they're called. They're battery powered LEDs. They are extremely bright.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can absolutely light underwater. Um,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot more light, right? I wonder what the dynamics. I know Craig probably knows this, the dynamics of the inverse square law through H2O versus O2. What does that look
Yeah,
like?
light fall off is fast.
Uh, yeah,
But it's
interesting.
back to the image. It's a beautiful image, and it's very, very well done, aside from the nitpickery of the highlights and things like that. Which is a lot of that stuff can be handled in post, by the way. Getting rid of those little highlight reflections on the background, reducing those so that they don't dominate, are fine. I do want to say, though, kudos to the model and the photographer, that I love her pose. I love the expression on her face. Her eyes are closed, her mouth is relaxed. Um, and I really like that. And I appreciate that. And that's not easy for a model to do
Yeah, yeah.
underwater.
I want to see
Yeah.
that. I really wish we could, twist Craig's arm to do a mini workshop, a mini TWiP workshop at his house. where he could show us how he actually goes through one of these shoots. That would be fantastic. All right, I'm on my way. He says, come on over. I'm on my way. I'll be there after this. So that is really cool. It's fascinating. Like the whole science, like I see we're looking at the period at the end of the sentence when we see a shot like this. And based on previous conversations with Craig, I know that, you know, preparation and the model and, you know, obviously lighting and all that stuff is just so much that goes into one of these versus getting a pretty girl and taking her downtown and doing some shots around the city with 85, right? This stuff, I mean, it's dangerous. Electricity and water and drowning and, you know, all kinds of stuff is going on. So
yeah,
really cool.
It's hard. It's easy to be critical after the fact. It's not so easy to do this.
Right.
Yeah, so I have a lot of respect for what this is, but the final product, really, nobody should have to worry about what it took you to create it, right?
Right.
Like, only us.
Doesn't matter, right? Craig says he has a strict no drowning policy. He's currently at 29%. There you go, man. You're aim high, buddy. Aim high. All right. Very cool. All right. Oops.
Thank you, Stampley.
That was Stampley. Air process is way cool. Yeah, for sure. All right. Amy Brooks is up next. She says, where men fashion all began, 10 Kens, 1 Kippy, and a hot tub. That's awesome.
Man.
This makes me feel uncomfortable, Amy. Especially this guy right here. What is happening right there? Like,
oh man, so many things I'm not going to say. Yeah, so many things.
I love it. I love it. All right, tell us what you think. I'm guessing this is the Kippy over here, right here. Oh man.
You know,
this is a fun shot for sure.
It is such a fun shot. It really is. You know, I'm trying to think about it from a standpoint of like commercialism or, you know, as a fashion shoot or, you know,
she says in the chat, it does not warrant a serious critique. So she knows this is tongue in cheek.
but it does a little bit though, right? Because maybe this is the next fashion shoot when your client comes to you and says, hey, I have these products. I want to do something completely different. Like, I don't want it to look like any normal fashion shoot. Mm-hmm. Bing, I saw Amy's image of these Ken dolls in a case. Like, that's that make mini fashion items, right? Then how do you
that could be cool. You know what? That would be cool to see like a Joshua Sommerfeldt recreate something like this, you know, because a lot of the stuff, the human realistic stuff that I see from Joshua is very, you know, it gets more and more realistic over the years I've seen. Like today it was like, I can't tell a difference, right? So what if you dial that back a notch and make them obviously, you know, kind of dollish and do something, you know, a composition kind of like this, but with that 3D, it's better than reality or hyper realistic feel to it. So yeah, there's so much stuff to play with.
No, I dig the implied concept here. And you know, Amy says that would be cool if they were not behind a glass case. I would have mocked up a fashion shoot. I actually think that laying them in a case as if they're for sale is super cool with the tags and everything. But like we say so many times in so many images, like, where's my focus? What am I drawn to? What are the distractions? You know, so we have to take those things into consideration. So certainly a fun concept, and kudos, Amy, for seeing it and taking a photo of it, right? Like that's big points for that.
For sure. And I'm fairly sure I own these shorts. Slightly larger size, but I'm fairly sure I own them.
I know for a fact the orange ones just to the right of that, I have those.
These? Yeah, see that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're North Face. Yes. I definitely own those.
And I had a sweater like this one on the right here. When I was growing up, we called it my Billy Batson sweater because it was like the one that Billy Batson, who turns into Shazam when he says Shazam, He wore in
Oh,
every episode
yeah.
of Shazam, and whenever I wore that, I felt like I was Billy Batson.
That's awesome. That's
Yep.
so awesome.
Love it.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Next up is Raphael Timber Geek Swift fashion in 2020, 2021. Yeah. I knew this was coming. How many masks do you have?
Great.
Yeah. Do you have a mask selection now of just like different masks for different occasions?
I do. We've gotten rid of the ones we don't like. We've saved the ones we do, and now we know what we like. And we have kits in all of the vehicles, and we have a little set.
Masks, hand sanitizer, gloves, right?
Oh, and an alcohol spray.
Yeah.
A paper towel. And what else do I have in there? Oh, just regular hand sanitizer. Yeah. I bought a set of these. This is currently my favorite mask that I tend to wear out because it makes a statement, and depending on how you look at it, you see that. Nice. Do you wear it upside down or right side up?
No, I would never wear it upside down. In fact, I double check it all the time. Always right side up.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
But I love I love what Raphael is doing here, and I think that it's super fun. I just want to point out that one of the lighting, we talk a lot about lighting, that look at where your light's coming from and look at where you want it to strike. And I would say that camera right, our very abstract-y, Picasso-y looking mask is the subject. The left, that light is too bright on that log because that's the window or the light box that it's coming from. And I see this a lot. You put the light over on the left, obviously the left is going to be brighter than the right. So scrim the light source, burn it down in post. Don't give that away.
Yeah. I like the concept of this. David Schulman in the chat says he has lots of masks. He says his Judy made more than 500 of them. So I like the concept of this, even though it is Raphael did this somewhat tongue in cheek. I think it's very appropriate, just because it is like 2 years ago. I was going to say last year, but now it's 2 years ago. 2 years ago, this would have had no significance of importance, and today everybody on the planet knows where he was going with this shot. This is really cool. It's almost like a family, dad, mom, and a kid.
Right. And I think for at least a decade, this is going to be relevant. It's going to make sense.
Yeah.
At some point.
More than that.
Yeah.
It's the era, it's going to be like, where were you when JFK got assassinated? It's going to be like, where were you in 2020, 2021, during the pandemic? It's going to be that, So.
Yeah. But I love what you did, Raphael. It's really fun. Super cool shot. Just, watch your light direction, where it's coming from, and try to make it look even in the frame. This only happens pretty much with a small light source, like a window or a light box.
Yep. Very cool. Thank you very much, Timber Geek. And I believe that's it.
I think that's it. Well, you know what my favorite is, so I'm going to let you put your opinion in on that.
Yeah, I think, we already discussed what your favorite is. So I think...
one from Peter?
Is there another one from Peter? Where?
Somebody said in chat, Craig says one from Peter. Where?
Let me reload it.
Did Peter put it in the regular? And we don't have it.
No, because I disabled the regular one. It's not in there. Oh, he snuck it in at the last minute. No, it's not at the top. Where is it?
Oh, he didn't put it in critique though. He just posted it in regular. It said somebody getting a tattoo.
Oh, I see. Normally that would disqualify. But here we go. Anybody else in here? No. Okay.
Just because it's Peter.
Just because it's Peter. All right. Wow, this one looks like a tattoo from the 50s. Look at that hairdo. That bouffant.
I know. That's super cool. Yeah. Like, I want to know the story behind this. How is it that Peter's there during this whole thing happening, right? Like, Now,
Peter is like, he's like Forrest Gump. He's just in all these random situations. There's Peter in the corner with his camera.
I
taking
can
pictures.
tell you, having spent time with Peter, Stampley, Mark Schrett, you guys know, Colvin, like Peter's not shy. Like if he saw this somewhere through a window and a door, like he'll be in there, you know, trying to get a shot. It's a really fun shot. You know, it really does tell the story. I don't know that it's so much fashion, but it's great storytelling. I love it. This is
no
fun.
It definitely in the black and white. This seems like it would be part of a greater photo story, right? Maybe it's about the tattoo parlor. Maybe it's this person who's getting tattooed and his or her kind of angst about going in and getting the tattoo. Or maybe it's this tattoo artist and a day in the life of this tattoo artist. This is like a shot, one of maybe 5 or 6 different shots that tell that story.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a fun shot, as Peter likes to do. We got to teach Peter how to get them into the critique.
Yeah. One step at a time. All right. So I think my favorite is also going to be your favorite on this one. Let me sort this. Date created.
Yeah, I got to go back. Many clicks to get back there.
Yeah. So I think we're going to have to go with this one.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Yep. Joshua Sommerfeldt. And fashion, you hit it on all cylinders. It's a great shot, great lighting, even though you made the whole thing, like, right? I mean, not even though he made the whole thing. He created the lighting, created the scene, created the person, created the garments, rendered it all out, posted it here. So this is a lot of work. This is like a ton of work.
And, you know, looking at it that way, this is very much the direction that we've been going in product photography and display for a very long time. Kira does some work for a company that they do tons of rendering of products before they go into production. And it's everything. They render everything. They build everything. They market it. They create all these sales pitches and everything. They create all the sales decks and everything from all rendered. Right. And then they just go make it look just crazy. Like that. So
that's crazy. And that's where things are going, you know, and pretty soon, like Craig Colvin has I think he still has that 3D printer down there, right? Pretty soon we'll be able to print out our own bodies, right? and use Elon's Neuralink to put our consciousness in it, and we're good. Done. Recycle.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I love it.
I can finally get a new back.
Yeah. There you go. 3D print your spine, take the other one out, stick that one in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Cool. Congratulations, awesome. Joshua. And we'll leave it right there for our recorded critique. So folks that are watching this on replay, if you want to participate in these, make sure you're part of the TWiP Pro community. And if you're already a part of the TWiP Pro community, just look in the events area and you'll see the upcoming critiques. They each have their own little Zoom link in there, and you can just pop in and join us every Monday at noon as we step through the latest submissions. So we'll see you guys next week. This is TWiP.